there's a story I heard about you that you were at a gym and a fighter was leaving and you lay down in front of the car or something. Tell us about that.
Lupi Pintor was the bantamweight champion of the world, and this was when I was working for Eileen Eaton at the Olympic Auditorium. And the bantamweight title was king in Los Angeles. It was so popular, and naturally 9 out of the 10 bantamweight champions that we had fight there through those years were Mexicans. One was a French-Moroccan Jew named Alphonse Halimi, and he was knocked out by Jose Becerra on opening night at the Los Angeles Sports Arena on the grounds of the Coliseum. They opened the arena with that fight. And so Lupi Pintor was the bantamweight champion, and this is when Korean fighters just started to make a surge in boxing. So the first Korean fighter of note came to the United States, and he was the #1 contender to challenge Lupi Pintor in the mandatory. So Eileen Eaton asked Lupi, her champion, Lupi, would you mind if we did the press conference at a Korean restaurant in Koreatown? Lupi says, no. He says, I don't mind. It was something different, you know, a Korean, we always go to Mexican restaurants. So he was gracious about it. So it was set for 12 o'clock. Lupi was there on time. And as you know, fighters are often late for press conferences. The Korean fighter was not there. 12:15, the Korean fighter's not there. 12:30, Korean fighter's not there. Lupi, who only spoke Spanish, told his guys that he was with, I'm leaving. He was so insulted. Here I came to a Korean restaurant, Korea's up, and he's the challenger, I'm the champion, and I'm here and he's not. I'm leaving. So I begged him, no, Lupi, please don't go. We've got all the press here from Los Angeles and San Diego, and some guys came up from Mexico and even from San Francisco. Lupi, please don't leave. Now it's about 1:45 and he's still not there. There were no cell phones in. We're calling the Holiday Inn where the guy's staying. Oh yeah, he left. He's on his way. Well, Holiday Inn is 5 minutes away. Lupi threw his hands up in the air. That's it, I'm going, he said in Spanish, but it was hard, it was, anybody can understand. And he starts to walk out the back to the parking lot, which is in the rear of the restaurant. And I'm chasing along, Lupi, please, Lupi, don't go. And he's walking. And Lupi, very much like Miguel Cotto, was a very serious guy when he trained, very focused. He didn't laugh and joke, and you know, he was a serious guy. He was a nice fella, but very focused. So he's walking out, and I'm chasing along, begging him to stay. And he gets in this old Plymouth station wagon, and I don't remember if you remember the station wagons, the Plymouths of the 50s. They were huge. Huge gas. This is the guy that owns a gym, so he can walk anywhere he wants. So they were huge, and this one was unlike now, where fighters, champions have to be in. Oh, here. Well, he's Cotto's lawyer, so he can go where he wants to. So this thing was a piece of junk. It was a stove on wheels. Nowadays, champions have to be in stretch limos. But they were spoiled rotten, and they were without pretense. His local friends drove him to the press conference in this terrible old piece of junk, big Plymouth station wagon that had Bondo all over it. I mean, it was a horrible looking car. Carl, if you owned the car, you would park it 4 blocks away so nobody could see what you were driving. And here the champion gets in that terrible thing. I didn't know what to do. But I remember from civil rights days, when people would protest, they would lay down in the street. So I laid down in front of the car, so he couldn't leave. Well, you can imagine. Go ahead, Pete.
No, it's okay.
He still owns the gym. The last time I checked, he's the guy. So I laid down in front of the car, right on the blacktop of the parking lot. Now, I looked like a beach Jewish whale with my stomach sticking up in the air and the whole thing. It was kind of funny. Well, all this, that's 4 times, Pete. That's it. I'm going to lock the door. So Nobody likes to be on camera. What the hell? So I'm laying on there, and the station wagon is inching toward me. I'm sorry I can't talk to you now. So the station wagon is inching toward me, just real slow. Loopy Pintor, who I told you is a very serious guy, he's sitting in the back, and he's got his head sticking out the window, and he's laughing and laughing, and I never saw Loopy laugh like that. And here comes the station wagon. Now, all the media had spilled out onto the parking lot because they see Loopy is leaving, and they're all there with their cameras and, you know, their notebooks and everything. And as the station wagon's about that far away from me, a car pulls into the lot, and it's the Korean guy. And Loopy went back inside. We did the press conference. The next day, in the LA Herald Examiner, my dear, dear friend Alan Malamud, the late Alan Malamud, in his column, he described the scene, and what he said was, everyone was cheering for the station wagon. The assistant sports editor called me the next day of the Herald Examiner, and he was on vacation in Miami visiting his parents. And he says, Bill, you won't believe this. There are 2 pictures in the Miami Herald, AP pictures of you laying down in front of a car. So that was my major moment. That was my biggest moment in the business, and Carl, everything's been downhill since then.
Well, except getting in the Hall of Fame, right?
Well, as long as you mention I'm in 2 Hall of Fames, and the reason I say 2, I'm in the World Boxing Hall of Fame. I went in with my guy George Foreman. George and I are still very tight. He did the wedding when I remarried my wife Sandy, who I married in 1957, and he also officiated at the wedding of my youngest daughter, Liz. We're very close. I was in last week I was in Houston with her. So George went into the Hall of Fame. He was just eligible, 5 years. And they put me in it, and they put Loopy Pintor in, and Larry Merchant, and Freddie Roach. We were the guys that went in. And my speech, I said, the only reason I'm here is because George Foreman pulled me in on his coattails, which was true. But the other Hall of Fame that I like to brag about is called the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. And the reason I like to brag about it is because I'm in there with Sandy Koufax. Forgive me, the greatest pitcher of all time.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, we could probably go on for days.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff. Thanks
Okay.
very much.